I grew up in Maine, near the coast of Maine, and spent summers on a lake and had several of my own boats. And then in college, I started sailing with a friend of mine who had a very nice boat and really grew to like it. And then after I got married, my wife and I had saved some money and she wanted to buy a house. I bought a boat, so I figured I better set the tone early on in the relationship. But that turned out to be the start of something where I've owned boats on and off all my life, always sailboats. So when I started looking to buy a business, I ended up buying this business called Charleston Harbor Tours. The boat that came with the business was a flat bottom riverboat type of boat. It was around 2002. I'd spent time running a variety of different companies for the last 25 years. The largest being about a $2 billion company, and then most recently as CEO of distribution businesses with something around 50 distribution centers all over North America. A lot of acquisitions, a lot of divestitures in my background. And then I left there. That led me back to Charleston, because I'd been spending a lot of time in Europe up to that point, and started to look for something to do. I was bored and saw this boating business that needed a lot of attention, and I got kind of turned on to it because it was like a business school case in graduate school, and needed a lot of marketing, needed some financial help, but needed a little bit of everything. And the first year was a disaster, but after we got the first couple of years behind us, it was a viable business, and we were just in the process of looking at getting our own reservation ticketing system. But every time we got close to making a decision, what we were looking at is having to buy a server, get involved in being IT managers, even albeit maybe on a pretty small scale, but nonetheless from a time usage factor, it was going to be something that I knew from my other, bigger company business experiences, that it eventually was going to take up a lot of my time, or I was going to have to hire somebody to maintain all of this. So we were already, mentally prepared to do something. We were just looking for the solution that seemed to be the best fit for our business model. And in the meantime, we continued to grow this business, and we bought the Schooner about 4 years ago. And the Schooner is 49 capacity, and the capacity on a boat is critical. I can't put more people on there. If I want to cheat on the Coast Guard, I certainly could do that. However, the minute I have an accident, let's say I've got 55 people on that boat, boy, I have got more liability issues than you can believe. And so when we bought the Schooner, that kind of pushed us over the edge. And my wife actually was the one who found Zerv. She started looking at other schooners, and we kept seeing this Zerv website. And as we looked into it, what we found was better scheduling, better control of the inventory, not having to invest in my own IT, laying all those problems off on Zerv. And my personal business philosophy is, I do what I think I do best, but what I don't know a lot about, I want to buy that from people who do know that. A good example of that is catering. We do not cook our own food on the boat. We do probably 70 to 100 events involving food a year. That's all outsourced to a caterer. And we use one of the best caterers in Charleston. So that philosophy of what we did with catering, I was thinking about IT the same way. And then when I really realized that the Zerv customer service components included having people available on the telephones from morning till late in the evening. Working myself a lot of evenings, I knew how many times that phone would ring, and I would be here at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night trying to work on some finances or something, and that phone, that irritant of the phone would keep ringing. It was revenue on the one hand, but on the other hand, it was very interrupting on what I was trying to do. And then, as I kind of put that whole formula together, we ran the numbers, and it was a good match for us because it allowed us to focus the business much more. So when I look at it from that standpoint, the monies that it cost me to be with Zerv, the benefits I'm getting far outweigh what I would have been able to afford to do myself. After Zerv, our business really took a nice bump, more than double the revenue in probably the first 3 years. Zerv has provided us with a differential advantage to our competition, has provided us with consistency in our marketing and our approach to marketing, helped us with strategic planning, helped us with implementing a better website design, more targeted to the consumer. We use the tools from Zerv very effectively. When a customer books through Zerv and goes on a cruise or tour, we rely on the quality assurance input from the consumer to modify our business practices as well. It keeps you up on your toes on your business, I think. Zerv also means to me that we have a partner that is a consultant that knows my business, that I can bounce ideas off and say, you know, I've got this kind of issue. How are people in California or Texas or Florida dealing with this type of thing? And they can kind of give me a good composite response. Having the Zerv tools available to me to remotely plug in is very important, because I like to get away and do some sailing in the summer, and I have a summer home in Maine. When I'm sitting in the cockpit of my sailboat in a quiet little cove and able to look at what's going on with the business, see what the rate of sales are, see how we're doing on a day-by-day, almost hour-by-hour basis if we want to. That's a beautiful thing that allows me the peace of mind to know that my business is going on uninterrupted while I'm getting some needed time away and getting the mental break that we all need. But then what's really nice is I can close that laptop up and go sailing for the day. Sailing is something where you have to tune up a boat and get everything right. And when everything is right, you slip into a very narrow groove. And that very narrow groove is when the rudder and the keel and the sails are all working in unison and the boat just takes off. When you slip into that groove, you can feel the acceleration. And I think with Zerv, I'm in the groove.